Massive punt early on in the session didn't really help. Played a couple other hands bad, but all right, welcome to the channel. Benny Diamonds here. We're actually starting today's vlog off at the wharf, as you can see right behind me. We're going to jump into a 1-3 session here at MGM National Harbor in a bit, but first we're going to get a walk in and enjoy this nice weather. Let's go. After a quick workout and walk through DC's wharf area, we finally make it to MGM. I don't even have my shoes tied yet, and we're already about to start balling with JJ Riddick. We get pocket jacks in the big blind, folds around to the cutoff who limps, along with the button and the small blind. Gonna make a standard raise here and bump it up to 18. Cutoff folds, button folds, and the small blind folds. So we're gonna get no action, but always feels good to take down the first pot of the day. Very next hand, we're still balling, getting dealt con nipple. Pocket kings in the small blind. Folds around to the cutoff who opens to 10. I make another pretty standard raise here to $30. Big blind gets out of the way and the cutoff ends up folding, so we're not getting any action with our pairs, but can't complain with back-to-back premiums. After a few hands, we're dealt 8-9 of spades in the hijack. Folds around to me, and with suited connectors, like 9, 10 and above, we really should just be open raising every time. And with 8-9, we can raise a portion of the time or fold depending if the table's tough. Not really sure why, but in game I decided to limp and immediately get raised by the cutoff for 15. Button calls and I call, and we're going 3 ways to a flop of ace, 8, 8, rainbow. With 45 in the middle, being out of position in a multi-way pot, there is some merit to leading as we do block trips, making it less likely we're up against another 8. We could also get value from any ace-x hand and can deny a free turn card to hands like king-queen and queen-jack. But at low stakes, people c-bet their ace-x's a lot, so I decided to check hoping to call or check raise depending on the action, but it ends up checking through. Turn is the 6 of diamonds, and I like to bet $20 targeting all ace-x's, club and straight draw hands. Should honestly be looking at $40 at the minimum, even going on the larger size to a pot size bet here. Being out of position, knowing most of these draws won't even fold here at 1-3 for a larger sizing, so even $50, $60 would probably be on the better side. This $20 bet is just terrible looking back at it. It accomplishes nothing, and it gives these draws such a good price to see the river. With that being said, the cutoff ends up making the call, but the button folds, and we're off to see a river, which comes the king of spades. Now, I like to bet $55, which again is a pretty terrible sizing. I guess targeting any ace-x that might call now for a chop with a king being on the board. Ace-king, non-believing pocket pairs, maybe some missed draws that might bluff the river. And the cutoff now raises me to 165. What value hands does he have here? Aces, kings, ace-8, maybe at some low frequency, pocket sixes, ace-king. And that's really the only thing we're beating is ace-king. What bluffs would even take this line? None really. But in the moment, I convinced myself that he had ace-king and would pay me off. Got greedy for the vlog, so going with the theme of basketball players, we're not playing. Call me Ben Simmons. I go all in for just under $400, and I get snapped off by pocket kings. So not really sure what I was thinking in this hand. Generally could have just called, as, only better hands are going to call this bet. But what are you going to do? On to the next hand. Strato's on, and we finally wake up with another pair after scooping in a few small pots. We've got pocket queens in the under the gun 2 position, and I raised to make it $25. Some confusion at the table, and my neighbor graciously gives me some of my $5 chips back as change for the green 25 I put out. I tried to sneak it back into my stack, but he was definitely too quick, so we're just going to have to get it back another way. Oh, yeah, sorry. No, you're right. It's all good, though. We have pocket queens, and we see a short stack raised to 55 from the button with only 85 total, so Not much to do here. We put him all in for his 85 and either hope we're flipping against AK or potentially have him dominated with some smaller pocket pairs. 50? Is that all you have? Like 25 behind? Yeah, you're milking me. But we run into kings again, and we do not improve. Flop comes 9, 10, 3 rainbow with a jack on the turn just to keep our hopes alive enough until we see the 4 diamonds on the river. So running into kings again, losing a little bit here, but could have been worse.
Turn gave you hope.
Yeah. How do I keep running into kings everywhere?
Third time in like an hour.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I go.
Yeah. And like they're easy, like super late back.
Next hand, we've got pocket 6s in the big blind. Folds to the button who opens to 12. And I just make the call here to close the action. Getting a good price to set mine with some potential maneuverability post flop. Flop comes 8, 8, 9 rainbow. I check out a position and the button bets 15. This is a pretty small C bet from the button. You know, I have a bluff catcher and marginal showdown hand that beats overcards to the board, and I don't really want to fold to this wide of the button's bet range, so I just call, and the turn brings in the 7 of spades. Now, bringing in a flush draw and a straight draw, I check again in flow, and now I have an open ender, and the button puts out another bet of 15, which is super small compared to the pot. So villain still has a wide range here, and with this specific bet size, I think usually will consist of weak 1 pair hands, a draw, maybe a trap like Jack 10, although I think a made straight would go a bit larger than 15. I raised to 45 as a semi-bluff, hoping to get hands like Ace King and Ace Queen to fold, and putting some pressure on weak 1 pair hands with a chance of hitting the effective nuts on the river. I think the sizing is okay, as I'm really only folding out worse and getting called by better, so I don't want to go too large here and bloat the pot. Although for those reasons, calling is probably much, much better. But river comes with 3 of diamonds, and I go off the rails here a little bit and bet $100, pretty much turning my hand into a pure bluff. I don't think players at this level will ever fold a 9. Definitely won't fold an 8, and may hero call with 10s or jacks, so this should have just been a check call or check fold depending on the size. But the button ends up thinking for a bit, and he ends up calling with jacks, so we're going to play another pot pretty horribly on the turn and river and end up losing a bit more than we needed to on this one. Next hand, we have Ace 4 of hearts on the button. With a couple early position limps, I make it 25 with only the under the gun player calling. Flop comes 6 of clubs, deuce of hearts, and 4 of clubs. We've got middle pair and a couple backdoor potentials. Under the gun checks, and I continue with a bet of $20, trying to deny equity from overcards, random floats, and value from worse ace-x hands and some flush draw hands. Under the gun calls. Turn brings in the 2 of diamonds, so it's less likely I'm up against an ace-deuce type of hand. Still ahead of all overcards and flush draws. Under the gun checks again, and I put out a bet of $45 to charge all flush and straight draws. And under the gun calls. River brings the jack of spades. Now, when under the gun checks for a 3rd time, I want to put hands like any 6x or 7s, 8s in a tough spot, as they may make a crying call for $50, $60. I bet $100, a little over half pot, and the under the gun player makes a pretty quick fold, so nice to finally be dragging in a pot for the vlog.
Clear, no fear. Again, for as much as I drank, which is not a lot.
No, with grapefruit juice, tequila, and Tabasco.
I'll try it.
At home.
After grinding our stack back up to a healthy size, we look down at 8, 9 of hearts on the button. We're 7-handed. Limps around to me, and I'm already playing this hand better than the previous 8, 9 of spades. I bump it up to 25 in position, and only the under the gun 2 player calls. This is the same player that we lost our 6s with against pocket jacks.
That is super weird. I didn't know any of that. Bizarre.
Flop comes 2, 8, 6 rainbow. Under the gun checks, and with top pair and some back doors, I put out a bet of $40, charging any 6x hands and 5 or 7x hands. Turn comes the queen of spades now, bringing in a flush draw and an overcard to my 8. Under the gun checks, and I put out a bet of 75, which may be a little bit too much for thin value, but under the gun thinks for a little bit and ends up calling. River is a 6 of clubs, and under the gun checks once again, and after the villain calls a large turn bet here, I don't think I can get any more value. I mean, if I bet, everything worse will fold, and a queen, 9s plus will call, and I'll get crushed if villain has a 6. We end up checking, and under the gun shows 6, 7 of spades, so we definitely dodged a bullet shutting down there on the river. Last hand of the night, and we have pocket 5s in the straddle. Few calls to me, and I make it 26 to go, with only the under the gun player calling. We've been battling him all day. We lost to his trip 6s and pocket jacks, so I'm out for revenge. Flop comes 10 of spades, 5 of hearts, and 6 of hearts. Connected board, but we flop a set, and under the gun checks, so we bet $20. Probably should be going a little bit larger here to charge multiple draws and any worse made hands like 10x or overcards with backdoor possibilities. Under the gun calls. Turn brings in the 4 of spades. Now, under the gun checks again, and with a potential straight on board, we're not going to stop betting, but definitely want to proceed with some caution, so I just bet 25, which is a bit too small as there are a lot of hands we can still get value from who would call a larger turn bet sizing. Any 10x, pair plus straight draw with hearts. We really should be going a little bit larger here for protection. Under the gun calls are 25, and we see the 7 of hearts peel off on the river. To make things worse, under the gun leads out now for 55, which is actually a really good price for me to call, but against this actual player, I end up just folding, and villain shows 8 deuce of hearts, so he had the world, he has our number, he gets both the straight and the flush, and we lose yet another pot to this player. We play for a bit longer before racking up and calling it a night. All right, first session down. All in all, could have been a lot worse. In for the game for 1,000, out for 642, so maybe like $360 down or something, but massive punt early on in the session didn't really help. Played a couple other hands bad, but hope you enjoyed the video. Got a couple more on the way, and hopefully I can grind it back up. See you next time.